Hi friends, my name's Annette, Sunbeam Fabric Art. Today we're going to use even more scraps from my scrap drawer to make a cute little block. And actually it's a little bit of an oversized block. So come along for the ride. My first step was to take 10-inch squares that I cut out of old sheets and mark the 5-inch marks on each side. Those marks could be made by an iron crease or by a pencil or pen. Then I found something around the house that I could use to make a circle or a quarter circle. My little stainless steel was too small, but I did find, when I took my block down to the kitchen, I found that a dinner plate worked wonderfully. I simply lined up my plate with the quarter square crease marks and drew a little line with a colored pencil. Pretty easy. I took the time to press a crease and then use my plate to mark those quarter circles on every block that I was going to use. Here is what remains of the scraps from my scrap drawer. I have a lot of the green, a lot of the gray, and a lot of that white to use up. To start putting strips around this quarter circle, I sewed right sides together with little strips. Then I would move over to the iron and press that strip back, and the next step would be to add another strip. When adding the strips, make sure you are covering up your pencil mark. On the second strip that I added, I made sure that when I would fold that fabric back, it would cover up all the raw edge from the prior strip. You can kind of see that when I stitch that and fold it back, it is going to cover up that raw edge from the green strip. And also I was just double checking to make sure that I was covering up the circle where I wanted to cover it up. I continued adding strips one at a time, going around that quarter circle. That first set of strips going around the quarter circle is the most important. It gets easier and easier as you go to add more strips. You may make some mistakes. You may have to use your seam ripper. Not a big deal. I made a mistake on one of my strips where it did not cover up a raw edge. I had the block almost done before I noticed it, and I just sewed a little patch over that little raw edge area. So if you don't do it perfectly, it's okay. Another tip while you're making these, you don't necessarily have to trim the fabric that you're covering up. It's all dependent on what kind of project you're making, how thick it can be, how much bulk you want it to have. If you really need to trim, you may trim every single one. I only trimmed, for the most part, ones that I thought were going to show through a lighter fabric. And here we are at the very end of this block. I just had one little yellow corner that I still needed to cover up, so I did that, and the block is finished. The next step is to trim these blocks to 10 inches. I did not necessarily trim alongside my yellow lines because stitching a lot of strips like this to a base layer of muslin or sheet or fabric or what have you could make that base layer shrink up a little bit. In my case, I lost about 1/8 of an inch on one or two sides, so I did trim to make sure I had a 10-inch block. The next thing you may want to do is lay out a few of your blocks on the floor or a wall to see how you want to lay them out. In my case, I decided to put 4 blocks together with no sashing, with the little yellow quarter circles on the outside corners. I sewed my top row together, the top 2 blocks. Then I sewed the bottom row together, the bottom 2 blocks. Then I flipped those over right sides together with each other. I put a pin to hold that in place, and then I sewed those 2 rows together to make my large block. I thought these blocks turned out really pretty. I decided to take 2 of these giant blocks and make a tote bag out of them, and I'll leave a link in the description on how you can make a custom-sized tote bag yourself. I encourage you to be creative, try something new, try something fun, try something you've never done before. Hi, thanks for joining me today. I hope you had as much fun as I did making these interesting circle blocks and turning them into something new. That's what I like to do. My name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. If you like what you're seeing, please hit that subscribe button, and I hope I see you again really soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.